Sage. Search. Angel. Marvin. Rose.
Thank you so much to everybody who joined. I am super proud of everybody who has made it this far. This is our last week of our high intensity challenge. You guys have nailed it. I know you guys are excited to see results and things happening in your body, so I'm super excited for that. If you haven't joined the March challenge, go ahead and do that. March is going to be a month of challenges. It's going to be a little bit more intense, but nothing that you can handle. So I hope you guys join. I hope you guys are ready for that. I hope you guys have a great rest of the evening, and remember to enjoy every single thing that you are doing throughout the day, throughout the week, and make sure you guys are living in the now and you're enjoying the process and you are listening to your body. And I really hope you guys stay hydrated, move intentionally, and eat healthy. If you guys have any questions, let me know, and I'll see you guys very soon. Have a great night.
6, 7, 8, bravo, 9, 10, geri gel ve dinlen.
Meu povo, como vocês estão? Tudo bem com vocês? Descabelada. Hoje, amanhã eu fui corrida, só consegui meditar agora. Daqui a pouco vou fazer um pouquinho de treinar um pouco. Vamos treinar? Vamos. Meia hora, mas treina. É a hora que deu. E a ambulância passando, aqui só passa ambulância, meu Jesus. Gente, vou falar pra vocês da minha roupa de ginástica. Ontem eu postei um top e umas 3 pessoas já me perguntaram. Como 3 pessoas me perguntaram, eu já vou colocar aqui também. Desde semana passada também que eu tava com umas bermudas, o pessoal pergunta de onde era. Eu postei, mas acho que vocês não perceberam. É da Fit Legs, eu vou colocar aqui o arroba deles. Essa calça chama calça orquídea. Não sei se tem ainda no site, mas eles cada hora lançam uma coisinha nova. É maravilhoso. Eu conheci por esses posts pagos de Instagram. Achei o preço super legal, qualidade muito boa. Então eu virei cliente. Tá aqui o arroba. Vê lá que vocês vão amar. Deitou meia hora, ó. Já deu pra pingar. Maravilhoso. Agora segundou, meu povo. Segundou. Boa tarde.
Eu não falei nada, ela já me conhecia já.
Workout for the day, check! I wanted to show my outfit that I have on today is from Carbon 38. They're leather snakeskin leggings. They're great because I can lounge around the house in them with a sweater or a sweatshirt, but I can also work out in them and they're super comfortable. So swipe up the shop.
Hello everyone. Today I wanted to take a look at the jump back. Now I plan on doing a series of videos with the jump back because if I were to go into heavy detail, it would just be too long of a video, and I know, we live in an age where our attention spans are a little bit short, but also I do feel that the jump back, working the vinyasas in the Ashtanga Yoga practice, we do have to learn how to take them into different stages and kind of digest some of the pieces and parts and principles of the jump back first before we can kind of work into other stages. So I think it'll be good that we do that. And also for this first video, it will really be for those of you that are just starting at the beginning or just starting with really trying to build up your strength and to improve your technique from more of that beginning stage, even if you've been practicing for a while. But if you just really feel that you need to refine your technique, or you're just lacking a bit in just awakening that strength that I really do believe is in everyone. So we're going to just work with that first stage. And when it comes to the jump back in the Ashtanga Yoga practice, I really feel it's a coordination of many different elements. One is definitely strength. So strength is a part of it, but it's not the only thing, because I have worked with some practitioners who are very strong, but they may be missing some of these other elements, so it doesn't always work so well. So one thing, like I mentioned, of course, is strength. we do have to have a certain level of flexibility because we have to have that flexion in the hip. So if we can't create flexion in the hip, we don't create that tight little space that we need to work with to be able to clear through the arms. So strength, flexibility, coordination, rhythm and timing, agility. Agility is just that adaptability to be able to shift weight and to work with that energy. And coordination. So, but agility and coordination work together in many ways, in many respects. So I have seen even people with body types you wouldn't think be able to jump back because they know how to coordinate all of these elements. I really believe anything is possible. However, if we're lacking in one area, we need to really work on improving. And the other thing is that, or let me just take a step back, we need to work on just improving or evolving with maybe a gap that we have. The gap could be agility or coordination. A gap could be strength. A gap could be flexibility. With all that being said, sometimes people get very fixated on the vinyasa and they think it's the most important thing to the Ashtanga Yoga practice. It is not. It is a small part of the Ashtanga Yoga practice. There's just so many gifts in the Ashtanga Yoga practice. It would just make me so sad if people thought, oh, I'm not made for this practice because I have no capacity to jump back or jump through. That's, that couldn't be further from the truth. What I do believe is that it is important to try and just to delve into your potential, but you don't want your self-esteem to ride on whether you can jump back or jump through. Do not fall into that trap. And sometimes people have a lot of arrogance around the jump back and jump through. They think they're really hugely evolved, or they think they're just, so great because they can jump back and jump through. We have to be very careful with where our intention is within all of this. And so I do believe that it's important to try. I do believe it's important to work through those gaps that we may have within ourselves. I know when I first started the Ashtanga Yoga practice, I was fairly open because I did start very young. However, I didn't always have the strength in many areas, and to me, it was so exciting to build into that strength, to develop it, to awaken that strength and agility within myself. And it wasn't there at the beginning. It wasn't easy in many instances, but I tried, and it was so worthwhile to try. But also, one thing people don't realize is in the trying, you fail many times, and sometimes you just get used to it, but there's still something very beautiful about just working through the steps anyway. And so this is just, my way of trying to encourage all of you to do what you can with what you have, make the best of it, and know that inherently within you, you're good. You're good to go. And there's many different types of strength. Some people can be physically strong and be weak in other areas of their life. Strength comes in so many beautiful ways. We all have strength within us, and it's all represented in different ways. So I just really want people to understand that. So how do we start to just work with our technique to awaken this strength within us, to work into the direction of jumping back? So what I always say, and for those of you who have taken workshops with me before, it's going to sound like a broken record because I always repeat myself, but I do know that these principles really work, and they help in many ways. And so when it comes to the jump back, it's not only about bandha control. Bandhas, which include that Mula Bandha and Uddiyana Bandha energy, that is really truly a support mechanism for what we also need to develop in our bodies, which is upper body strength. When it comes to the upper body strength, I'm talking about arm strength, shoulders, chest, and upper back, and also, of course, the core strength, which includes Mula Bandha and Uddiyana Bandha. However, we have the transverse abdominis, we have the rectus abdominis, we have our internal and external obliques, we have our serratus muscles. All of that is working together to support this action of the jump back. So I'm not of the school that thinks that Mula Bandha and Uddiyana Bandha are the only thing that's going to get you to lift up and jump back. But it is a significant part for sure. But it's in combination and in coordination of other things that are developed within the body. Now, it doesn't demand superhuman strength necessarily, because we also need that rhythm and timing. We need that technique. We need that coordination and that agility too. So all of it is very important. So the first thing is, if you're doing a position in the practice, what we want to do is really close this gap between the thighs and the torso. So I want my thighs to really touch my rib cage. That is so important in the beginning stages of preparing for the jump back. So my knees are into the chest, my thighs are touching the torso, my heels are drawing in really close to my sit bones toward the bottom. This position is very important. Whenever I draw the knees in this way, it tones and awakens my core. So that's a really beautiful thing. If you improve your technique of drawing those knees in, bringing the thighs in toward your torso, in toward the rib cage, it already has a way of contracting and awakening your core muscles. So that alone is one reason why to do it every time you prepare for your jump back. Now, if you engage Mula Bandha and Uddiyana Bandha at the same time as you draw those knees in, it will further that effort of awakening within the core muscles of the body. So super important. We want to draw the knees in. We want to draw those heels in toward the bottom. Now, sometimes if we lack in that hip flexion, we may feel a little bit blocked. So that might mean that when you draw the knees in, maybe your stopping point is here. Maybe those knees don't come all the way into the chest. That's okay. Do the best you can with what you have. Get them in as close as you can, and draw in through Mula Bandha and Uddiyana Bandha. Okay, so just do the best you can. That hip flexion will improve with practice, and also with many of the postures that we do in the primary series practice and so on. So that will all start to transform and change when you are consistent in your development in the practice. So why is it so important to get those knees into the chest, to get the heels into the bottom? It's important because, one, it does awaken the core, and two, we will not clear the floor if that doesn't happen. So this is an important thing to understand. If the knees are out far, and also if my heels are out far, so if there's a lot of space here, and if there's a lot of space here, when I lift up and when I swing back, I just hit the floor. Okay? Unless, you have super long arms that just go on forever, then maybe you would clear. But from what I've seen, it doesn't quite happen unless we really draw that in, unless we draw the heels in, unless we draw the knees in toward the chest. Again, no space as much as possible between your thighs and your rib cage, your torso. Okay, so that's super important. Now, the other thing I always mention to Ashtanga Yoga practitioners that are first working into the vinyasa is you must learn how to lift up first. There is no jump back without a lift up. And we need to be able to get an upward rise first. So usually I always really express the importance of putting your focus there first before really trying to get that jump back. We have to get that lift. So knees into the chest, heels in toward the bottom, hands down, flat to the floor. And I always say, bring your hands slightly forward in relationship to your shoulders or to your hips. So you don't want to be lifting up back here. You want them slightly forward. Okay, so my shoulders are here. They're a little bit back in relationship to my hand, or even in relationship to my hips. And then for the lift, I kind of rock forward a little bit. Chest up, chin up, keeping those knees into the chest. Okay, so it's so important that I learn how to lift up, keeping those knees in the chest, keeping the heels in toward the sit bones. What tends to happen is that we may prepare really good in the beginning, hands down, and then when we lift, what happens? the knees just drop down this way. So it takes a certain level of strength to be able to lift your body off the floor and maintain those knees into the chest, heels into the bottom. If you cannot lift up and keep that tight position, then keep your focus there for now until you can lift your bottom off the floor and really keep the knees into the chest, the heels in toward the bottom. So I'm going to alternate my legs. I think that is also very important as well. So hands down, knees into the chest, heels in close, thighs really touching my torso. Inhale, I lift and I keep that position in nice and tight. Inhale, lifting, and then I come down. So really important that I'm able to hold that tight position as I lift up. As you see, when I'm in this position, I have much more room to clear. Okay, so if you feel that it's challenging to hold that position on an upright movement on that inhale, when you start to swing back, it actually gets a little bit heavier. So you want to work this into stages. Focus on that upward rise. Focus on keeping the knees into the chest, the heels in toward the bottom. When you lift, coordinate that lift with your inhale, which creates a really beautiful upward rising action. The breath is so important to coordinate in this movement. So for people that are just starting this out, I usually recommend doing the jump back vinyasa in 2 parts so you can concentrate on that upward lift first. So I would do something like this. Inhale, lower down, tuck the feet, hands forward, and jump back for the chaturanga. Okay? I understand that it's not the most floaty vinyasa, and sometimes people are dissatisfied that I give that recommendation. I just feel that quality is important, quality movement, and building up the steadiness and strength within ourselves with good integrity to build a good foundation to move forward into other stages. So that's why I would recommend this 2-part vinyasa for those just starting out, just so you can really focus on that upward rise and learn how to keep the knees into the chest and the heels in toward the bottom to really prepare to clear the floor, to then coordinate a swinging action to be able to swing and clear the floor to do that full action of the jump back. It does demand a lot of strength and coordination, so sometimes it's just good to take little bites out of this vinyasa, little tangible bites, approachable bites, so we can build up our confidence and our flow in the practice to be ready for the next stage. And I just really believe this. It's something that I've always implemented in my practice. Whenever I would be tackling a new pose that just felt bigger than me, I always took it in small bites. What can I do? What can I do from this point to work me to the next point? And I want to do this point really well before working on to the next, before working on to the next. That's how I've always been able to tackle certain poses that just felt so far away from being able to complete. So this is my first recommendation. I've already talked at length enough, I think. Look out for part 2, for next stages for the jump back. Again, this is for those of you that are just really working on that awareness and just learning how to start out of the gate approaching the jump back. So if there's any further questions about this stage, keep in mind I will do other videos to further how we evolve in this movement. Let me know, leave your questions in the comments, and thank you all of you that have been giving me good feedback with the tutorials. I will continue to do this, so if there's any requests, also let me know. Hello everyone. I wanted to continue on with taking a look at Bhujapidasana, but specifically jumping into Bhujapidasana. So this is a common question that I receive, and I always recommend a good time to work on transitioning into Bhujapidasana by jumping is when you have a good foundation of the pose already. So you feel that you're well practiced in Bhujapidasana, you feel like you have some good flow in the position. And so with the jumping in, a lot of times I just say, you gotta go for it. You just gotta go for it. So from a downward facing position, I really just whip the legs around the arms, squeeze the thighs into the arms, and then just really try to hook the foot as quickly as possible, because then you'll feel more secure as soon as you get the feet hooked. So I don't tend to jump up very high when I jump into Bhujapidasana. I tend to jump more straight forward. So if you do fall in the pursuit of jumping, we usually just fall on our bottoms, and we have some padding there, so it's not such a scary thing to attempt. Sometimes when we are scared by something like this, it's more in the mind. It's not necessarily that we're up too high or there's too much of a risk or anything like this. So a good hand position, a good grounded hand position, a good resistance through the arms is very helpful. You always want to look where you're going, and you want to just really get those thighs around the arms and start to squeeze as swiftly as possible, but you don't want to rush it too fast. And that's always the paradox is I will say in some transitions you want to work swiftly, but you never want to rush. And what I mean by that is you just want to know what each step is and find the right timing to each step. So I will do my best to kind of cover these points. So I'm going to have my hands in a shoulder width apart position, fingers spread nice and wide. And when you initiate the jump, you want it to happen on the inhale. So I'm going to lift the heels, bend the knees, and look where I'm going. Inhale, jump, whip the legs around, hook the feet like so, and just squeeze. So from this position, I then go directly down into Bhujapidasana, the chin touching the floor. 5 breaths, breathing. After 5 breaths, inhale coming up, and exhale, hold. Then from here for the transition, release the feet, inhale, lifting up, drawing the feet together, heels together, 2, exhale, jump back. So with the transition, it's really a matter of just going for it. So the feet have to leave the floor and we have to hook. So it's kind of the same thing, that I also mentioned in the intermediate series when people learn how to jump into Bakasana. But I always tell people the feet have to leave the floor. So when it comes to something like Bhujapidasana, you have to get the feet higher than the hips to get them, around the arms to then hook them. And like I said before, if we fall, we will just land on the bottom and it won't be a big deal. If you don't have much padding through the bottom, then maybe that'll be another risk factor. But I have found that it's a pretty natural thing to attempt if we have the proper foundation to the Bhujapidasana position I demonstrated in the other tutorial, just loading it up with the feet down and working the shoulders back. So I find that jumping into Bhujapidasana is a lot of fun, and we just get ourselves more swiftly into the position and we just create more of a flow. So I hope some of that helped, or at least the demonstration helped, so you get a good visual of how it works. And if you have any further questions, just let me know.